Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez. So, without further ado, let's get to the first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Judice versus Juliana Miller. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Judice to beat Juliana Miller. So this should be like average, maybe high, maybe even a lot of confidence for Judice, but I'm not so quick to jump on any of that right now. Low confidence is good enough. I'll probably still put in a parlay, maybe treat her like average, but low confidence is good enough. If she wins, she wins. And she should win. But I am concerned about Miller. She's kind of like a wild card. You know, maybe her striking improved enough. Maybe her takedown offense improved enough. Yeah, like her takedown offense, not defense. I'm not worried about her takedown defense. I'm worried about her takedown offense and her ability to create a situation where this turns to a grappling exchange and she's on top of Miller. And maybe Miller's not that good on bottom. Or when really tested in her submission defense. And that could be an issue. But other than that, Judice got pretty decent cardio, great output. Should be to stop Miller. I say like second round TKO. Judice is a much better striker. I think she's a much better overall fighter. It's just, you know, I've not seen her so much tested in the grappling department is all I feel. So we got a fighter like this, who's not like she's been like this undefeated fighter who's for sure going to go to the top. Like, Judice is probably going to definitely fall into like a journeywoman spot. So it's not like she's some super stellar stellar fighter. But who knows? Stuff always happens. Maybe she turns into the flyweight Holly Holmes. I don't know. But I don't see this great future. So I can't be like, put her on this pedestal and give her all this great confidence for no reason. Just yet. When she's not fully even always vetted. That's my concern. She's not fully vetted. But yeah, Judice should be able to address the grappling. And on feet, much more lethal striker. Well, Miller's a grappler, but Judice is has a huge striking advantage. And yeah, they should be able to address the grappling. I think so. Stalk Miller, pick her apart. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say first round TKO because it's not like Miller even had really any defense. And I think Miller has already been stopped in the first round, so I'll say first round. No need for second round. I'll say first round. Judice might be a little bit, you know, again, as I am a little bit tentative about it, and you know, play it smart. So she might take it to the second round, but she does have the capability, and I think she does get it done in the first round. So Judice addressing the grappling, putting the strikes on Miller. Miller not having any striking defense, and Judice putting the volume and the right shots on Miller and getting her out of there in the first round. So in this one, I got Judice via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division. We got Valle versus Jordan Leavitt. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence. Valle to beat Jordan Leavitt. So yeah, I just think with this one, Leavitt's a solid fighter, but very awkward striking. Not the best wrestling offense. Solid BJJ. Particularly top BJJ. Like he don't really have great bottom game. Like he don't have no game where he like really such a big threat off the back when he's on bottom. So yeah. And I think Valle is the better wrestler, so I think he should be able to determine where the fight takes place. I think Valle is the better striker. So he can determine where the fight takes place, and with his striking, he could better dictate where the fight takes place and better set up his shots where Leavitt's going to have to try to make it a little bit ugly or create awkward opportunities to get to these takedowns or at least these takedown attempts. And again, I think Valle will do a good job if he wants to get the fight to the ground. If he gets the fight to the ground, again, it's not like Leavitt has some great guard where he's so offensive or so successful in offensive. Like he's able to had a great track record of submitting people, and especially good people, you know, when he's on his back. Maybe in the gym, but as far as his pro career, I have not really seen any great track record of that. Everybody's a superhero in the gym, but when it comes to like when it really matters, how many people are really good off their back? That's very rare, even in pure BJJ. Not a lot of guys are particularly great off the back, and it's even more rare in MMA. But yeah, I think Valle should be able to determine where the fight takes place, and I think he'll be in a better position, and he's better suited to dictate the striking as well as the grappling, because if it's wrestling, he should be able to dictate the wrestling, where the fight takes place as far as the grappling. And on striking, he's the better striker. And I think he's a taller, longer fighter, I believe. Let me check that real quick. He's younger. They're the same height. He has a reach advantage, but he uses his reach much better, and he fights much longer. Leavitt fights more squatty. So yeah, even though Leavitt is the same height, I'm gonna be happy too much about him. Anyway, I just said the main point. And I'm gonna say submission, second round submission. I think he picks him apart on the feet, breaks him down, and submits him, kind of similar to Paddy Pimblett, but with maybe less comp. So yeah, second round submission, breaks him down, submits him second round. Let's go with that. Next fight we have in the welterweight division, we got John Paul Lebosnoyani versus Phil Rowe. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence, not competence, low confidence Phil Rowe to beat Lebosnoyani. Yeah, I feel like John Paul Lebosnoyani is like a decent fighter, but I don't see this fighter as a guy that's going, not balloon, but I don't see this guy that's going, I don't see him as a guy that has a very high ceiling. I see him as kind of guy that maybe be here and gone, or maybe be like a bottom tier welterweight. It may be peak at a mid-tier welterweight. I don't see this guy like, Lebosnoyani. I could definitely see him as a future title contender, future champion, or future long-time gatekeeper, top 5, top 6, 7 guy. Or I really don't see that in his future. But hey, prove me wrong. I don't got nothing against the guy, but I'm not super high on him for what I've seen. And Phil Rowe, he might not be this and that, but he has at least been a guy that's been there with credible competition. And more often than not, the competition he has lost to has been credible competition. And it's not like he's completely been washed over when he fought good competition. Like, he come up pretty much short in every single time against, truly solid competition, truly veteran competition. Like guys that have been in UFC for 5-6 years and stuff. Pretty much most time. He did beat Nico Price, but yeah. But other than that, as far as the veterans, those guys he typically lose to. It's not like he's losing to every new guy that's coming around. You really got to be at least somewhat more stand out than what Lebosnoyani has shown. But hey, we'll see. That's what the fight's all about. We'll get to see that. But from what I see from Lebosnoyani, he hasn't really been too many rounds. He fights, he looks for the kill. Phil Rowe has shown to be pretty durable. He's shown to be well-rounded. His wrestling's pretty terrible. But he has good BJJ to keep him in the fight. He has length. He can strike. He got enough pop in his punches. He can put value in. So you ever start to slow down, you come out aggressive like Lebosnoyani, does, and it doesn't fall through for you. You don't get the finish, or you don't wear on him enough, and then you start to fade in the fight, which I could see happening here. Then Phil Rowe could definitely come on. Phil Rowe is one of the guys that, little shock is over. He can take some damage. He can stay in the fight, and then he finds the opportunity. He's not really a guy that's going to really run you over. And I feel like Lebosnoyani kind of falls in the category. He don't have the experience, UFC experience at all. And he doesn't really have experience going rounds with, in the actual competitive fight, like an octagon but to be Bellator PFL, he doesn't have rounds with actual really credible competition. So I just feel like it's kind of setting him up to where he's going to come out aggressive. He might have success, might look good, might even be dominating the fight. But I can see one of those cases where Lebosnoyani starts to dip off, and then Phil Rowe sees him fading, puts the volume on him. Now I might have to say submission. I think you're going to see a fatiguing Lebosnoyani, and then he's going to start to walk him down. The power of his punches and kicks ain't going to be there as much anymore. They're going to get predictable. Lebosnoyani probably going to try to wrestle at points in this fight. And again, a lot of stuff that's going to exhaust him. And he's not going to be prepared to do that for 15 minutes. And Phil Rowe's going to make him work enough so that, he's actually exhausting himself on long top for every day. And then Phil Rowe starts to stalk him, put the volume on him. Then Lebosnoyani probably starts to panic wrestle. And then I can see Phil Rowe getting the submission, I'm going to say third round rally performance for Phil Rowe to beat Lebosnoyani. So, in this one, I have Phil Rowe via third round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Brahimaj versus Punahele Soriano. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Punahele Soriano to beat Brahimaj. So, yeah, pretty even match on paper to me. I think Soriano's a pretty good dog. Don't get this feel you picking Soriano because you this and that. Soriano's a good dog here. I think it's a good dog. It's not like Brahimaj is this world beater, and Soriano has been doing pretty well for himself since he dropped to welterweight. And at one point in middleweight, he was a bright prospect at middleweight. But he went as far as he go middleweight. He dropped down to welterweight. Well, he's on a 3-fight winning streak, I think, now at welterweight. Both guys can wrestle. I think Punahele Soriano is the better wrestler. Brahimaj probably had a better submission game, but can he really, initiate it with his grappling? I don't think so. I think more so, I don't think Brahimaj, as far as at this level, he's not a guy that's going to really take you down and submit you. He's a guy that's going to he's a club and subber. So, when I say Brahimaj has a lot of submissions on the record, maybe against some not the best guys, and then guys that are, at least noteworthy, he clubbed and subbed them. So there's a difference between a club and subber and just being a guy who can literally just take you down, pound you to find a submission, or to snap on the guillotine, or guys that can just go pure grappling and get a submission, or minimum striking and get a submission. Now he's like guy that needs to smack your brains around a bit, or rattle your brains a little bit, and then while you're trying to find your brain, then he can sub you. at this level. So I don't really rate his submission skills that much. Like he definitely could potentially get a submission here in this fight if he is a winner, potentially. But it would be like a club and stuff. But other than that, I think Soriano is the better wrestler. That's my opinion. And that's from what I've seen. Brahimaj not too long ago was getting out-wrestled by Thimba Garimbo pretty handily. I think Soriano's a better wrestler. I think he's a bigger wrestler. Like he fought at middleweight a lot of his career. More than half of his career was at middleweight. And now that welterweight fighting guys more his size. And with actual background in wrestling, I think Soriano will be able to out-wrestle Brahimaj if needed. Not going to say it's going to be easy. And it's not like Soriano has been a guy that's been so suspect to be outstruck so much. And I do think Soriano packs more one-punch power here. So yeah, I think a big factor in this fight will be the wrestling, which I think Soriano has the edge. I think striking is relatively even. I don't think Brahimaj is this elite striker. I don't think he will ever be. If anything, Brahimaj has been more outstruck in fights than Soriano has. As far as there's been more cases of it, I think. Especially at this weight class. Soriano does not have any case of that. Brahimaj has several. I think he got, not Phil Rowe, but he got Mac Griffin, Court McGee, Thimba Garimbo low-key, but majority wrestling that fight. But either way, I think it comes down to the wrestling. I think Soriano has the edge. I think power is relatively even. And I'll say decision for Punali Soriano. I think strike will relatively even out. Maybe Brahimaj will maybe land more value. Soriano might land the heavier shots. And then Soriano will get the takedowns, and that will edge the fight. But pretty close competitive fight, but I think Soriano should be able to replicate some of what Thimba Garimbo did enough to get a decision victory here. So in this one, I have Punali Soriano via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Nora Cornolle versus Jocelyn Edwards 2. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Jocelyn Edwards to beat Nora Cornolle. So the first fight, Edwards was flat out robbed. They're going to rematch again, and Edwards is a lot better. Cornolle is roughly the same. I think Edwards makes a statement in this time around. I think she has a lot more success with striking than she had in the first fight, and very similar success as far as the grappling she had in the first fight. She took her down a lot, pretty much at will in the first fight. I think she'll be able to pick the strikes up, hurt Cornolle on the feet, and or gain the respect of Cornolle on the feet with her strikes, and then also mixing the takedown. And again, all that is going to work to make this a much better performance. And I know last time, she did what she had to do, but the judges were in France, so they gave Cornolle, I guess they gave her the favor for whatever reason. But now they're not in France. Edwards was the better fighter then, and she's the much better fighter now. And again, I think she goes out there and dominates Cornolle. And I'm going to say second round TKO for Jocelyn Edwards. Like mixing the striking, mixing the grappling. Being hurt on the feet, get her respect on the feet, get her to the ground. And then once she's on top of the ground, just dropping heavy ground and pound and getting Cornolle out of there. So in this one, I have Jocelyn Edwards via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Alden Coria versus Louis Gurule. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Alden Coria to beat Louis Gurule. I think Gurule is a solid fighter, but I think he's more so a counter wrestler than an offensive grappler. I think Coria should be able to address the wrestling of Gurule. And on the field, I think Alden Coria is just a much longer, much sharper, more dynamic striker. But I think he should be able to pick apart Gurule and stop him in the second round. But yeah, Gurule is a solid fighter, but I don't think this is a solid stylistic matchup. I think this matchup favors Coria much more. So in this one, I have Alden Coria via second round TKO. All right, now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Ode Osbourne versus Alibi Idiris. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Ode Osbourne to beat Alibi Idiris. Idiris is seeming like a solid fighter, but just largely unproven at this level. And I just really feel like in his last fight, he quit. He got beat, he got finished, but I feel like he mentally quit. He was losing the striking. And then once I got to grappling, he just was out of there. I feel like that might be a clear sign of mental weakness. Osbourne has shown mental weakness for the most. I'm not saying for the most part. I'm not trying to say he has shown some mental weakness at points. I feel Osbourne has, but never to the degree that Idiris showed in that tough finale. That was very clear, evident mental weakness. I feel like Osbourne, when you look at a lot of his losses, it's just a lack of grappling at the time, a lack of experience, and more so that than just a guy that's mentally just checking out. Or maybe, I think Osbourne has company. Cardio has been an issue for him. Kind of faded in the fight to cardio, which could be mental, but not as clearly mental as what I saw in the Idiris last fight. But yeah, more so cardio, bit of explosive guy, and then that explosive guys they dip. But Osbourne has worked on that bit in his career, and it's definitely not as bad as it used to be. Grappling again, issues career, but not as bad as it used to be. But what I've seen from Idiris was embarrassing, to be honest. Not to say that his opponent was bad or this and that, he probably lost regardless, but I just feel like he just checked out. He just flat out checked out in the fight. He could say he didn't. His fans say don't people that high on Idiris could say it, but he did. It's a fact. It's not opinion. He mentally checked out the fight. And yeah, I feel like Osbourne's the better striker, especially early. And Osbourne, he showed in his last fight against an elite opponent who, not too long ago for the belt, Osbourne was right there with him a large majority of the fight. And it was a slim margin that he lost that fight. I mean, it was clear he lost the fight, but it was slim margins things done at a high level, getting takedowns at the right moment, making a little right adjustment, like a little small adjustment that you can do or that you learn to do once you have fought at high level that Idiris has not fought at. And Osbourne has more experience. I think he should be addressed to grappling Idiris. I don't think Idiris is some elite grappler. I think Osbourne's the better striker. And I'm going to say, if I would say first round TKO, I feel like that mental weakness, if Osbourne can get out to a good start, touch Idiris early, I feel like he can get Idiris his weakness to show itself once again, and then he can get Idiris out of there. I'm not too worried about Idiris grappling. I'm not too worried about Idiris striking. I think Osbourne should be addressed to the grappling. I think he's the better striker, especially early, and I think he should be able to capitalize and get Idiris out of there in the first round. So in this one, I got Ode Osbourne via first round TKO. Now to our next fight. We have in the welterweight division, we got Chidi Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence. Chidi Njokuani to beat Carlos Leal. So Leal's a big puncher, not really the best offensive grappler. I think Chidi Njokuani is a much sharper, more technical striker. And also I think his physique and his style very much resembles a guy who has already beat Leal twice in PFL in Sada Busi. Like similar height, similar length, very high level strikers technically. Leal coming off a knockout loss, which is not good. And Njokuani, was looking sharp, had a couple good performances, or like three good fight. I said 3 good fights, but 3-fight streak. And then he got grappled. So it's really not indicative of his striking so much in his last fight. And I feel like this is a fight that's going to primarily be a striking match. Probably limited grappling, and I don't think I don't think Leal's that great of a grappler, to be honest, or really has not shown the greatest track record of going out there and offensively grappling. He prefers strike, Njokuani prefers strike, and Njokuani should be able to address the grappling. If anything, when Leal starts to grapple, that's like a sign of weakness, a sign of panic. And if it was, I think Njokuani should be able to address his level of wrestling, and then, or his level of grappling. Don't defeat this, be the sharper, longer striker, break down Leal, then stop him in the second round. So in this one, I got Chidi Njokuani via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Zach Reese versus Michel Pereira. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence, Zach Reese to beat Michel Pereira. And yeah, this is definitely a momentum pick. Michel Pereira seems to be on the down and out. Can't be too confident that he's done just yet, especially with a guy like Zach Reese who's not really truly a stud and maybe never truly will be a stud. Like, hey, he made a UFC, he's a stud enough. Maybe in his local gym, like, oh, you're guy in the UFC, like maybe he's the goat of his gym. I don't know. I don't care where he trains at. But anyway. But yeah, I don't think Zach Reese is some super stud by any means. But I do think he should be able to beat Pereira at a discount. Like Pereira's clearly on the downtrend. Both guys primarily front runners, but Pereira right now confidence not at I would say at an all-time low. I would say Pereira is, and he hasn't even been doing what he needs to do in recent fights to even win this fight. Is what I'm saying. Like stylistically, he has been fighting off the back foot a lot early now instead of pushing the pace. Like you're a first round fighter, go put all your chips in the first round. Because if you don't win the first round, you typically just fade out in the later rounds. You're not that guy. Like you're not the guy that's gonna pick apart. You're not an Anderson Silva, Piotr Jan, and you're gonna drop the first round, analyze in the second round. You're gonna decimate them. You're a guy that's gonna come out there either in the first round, set a precedence, or stop them. So you set the precedence. You go out there and you put the opponent behind, so they got to catch up to you. And then the second round, they're kind of a little intimidated, a little bit hurt, and they kind of like making decisions in their head. And then probably by the third round, they're already down 2 rounds in the hole, and then you kind of fade in the third round, maybe lose that third round, but you already won the first round. But Pereira's not a guy that I could drop the first 2 rounds. I mean, I dropped the first round, and then I come on in the second round and put you away, or win the second 2 rounds, or I might have dropped the first two, but I find it like a Marlon Vera in the third round. Like, he's not really a rallier. So Zach Reese been a first round fighter. I think Zach Reese been a bigger guy. Zach Reese having more power. And Michelle Pereira fighting off the back, which was really the biggest issue. You're a first round fighter. You need to set the precedent early, but lately you've been fighting off the back foot. So it's not going to work out for you. Or it's not going to work out. It's a shield with your style. You're not fighting to your style's favor at all. So he's not favoring himself with the style that he's currently fighting or the approach that he's currently having. Whether he adjusts that, again, that's the concern why this is low confidence. But with the way he's currently fighting and the current momentum or lack of momentum he has, I think Zach Reese can definitely thrive in this fight. Could see a stop, but I'll say decision here. I think Pereira definitely has more of a bag than Reese. He definitely has more tools, more experience. So I could see Pereira actually still winning the later round here. But again, winning the fight based off that style that he has, no, I don't see it. I think Zach Reese comes off to a good start early. Pereira might have a little flashes here and there. But ultimately, Zach Reese starts landing the heavier shots. Pereira starts going to back foot. And output drops too much. And then maybe, like I said, Zach Reese just doing more, walking forward. Pereira just off the back foot, doing a little spotty striking here and there. A little kick, a little jumping knee attempt, a little overhand. Like just little things here and there. That's not really landing or having the effect that they should have. And Reese is landing the more consistent offense with Pereira on the back foot. Then maybe in the third round, Reese maybe fades a little bit. Pereira starts to pick up, but a little too late. And even at that point, Pereira don't really have the gas or the will to really push it enough to get the finish that he might need in this fight. But all in all, this Zach Reese really capitalizing on Pereira's current approach and his current lack of momentum and beating Pereira here by decision. So in this one, I got Zach Reese via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Sergey Spivac versus Ante Delija. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Ante Delija to beat Sergey Spivac. This will get to the point where I am. Spivac is a solid fighter. Primarily a grappler at this point. Never really had the greatest power or striking, finishing upside. Again, never really been a big puncher. More so been a volume puncher. Lately, by far his biggest work, his biggest threat has been his wrestling. Been to take guys down, submit them, or just dominate them in the grappling department. But yeah, Delija is a pretty solid, sizable heavyweight. I think he's more well-rounded. And I think he can address the grappling of Spivac, push him back, bully him in the clinch, break him down. And I'll say first round TKO for Ante Delija. Again, I think he'll be able to address the grappling. I think he's definitely a much more dangerous striker. I think he should be able to push Spivac back against the cage and really kind of bully him in that position, break him down, and then stop him late in the first round. So in this one, I have Ante Delija via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Melquizael Costa to beat Dan Ige. So this is a step up in composition. Composition notebook. It's a step up in competition. So, always going to be wary there. It is not like Dan Ige has necessarily been looking bad, even in his losses. Like, he's been competitive, very competitive, even so in a lot of these fights that he's been losing. But I go Melquizael Costa. I just think he has more tools. Like, Dan Ige's definitely got his looks for those big shots. And doesn't really punch in volume very much. And I think Melquizael Costa will do a good job trying to mix it. I don't think he has so much great success getting Ige down. I don't think so. Or even finishing Ige. I think this fight goes the distance. I think Melquizael Costa mixes in the kicks a lot. High kicks to keep Ige busy so he can't just spam overhands as much. Mixes in his box and his strikes as well. His punches as well. So yeah, mixing the takedown strikes, mixing the punches as well. But I think the majority of the success is going to come off the kicking game and maximizing that kicking range. So throwing high kicks, keeping Ige's hands busy. Threading the level changes in the attempts of takedowns. Not really so much to get the takedown, but again, all about keeping Ige busy, keeping his hands busy, and loading the kicks up and just outpointing Ige here. So I think that's what Costa's approach will be. I don't think he's gonna be so urgent to try to get a finish because you try to finish Ige, that allows him to to get into his groove. You get into his range and he has big power. He could touch your chin and put your lights out or club and sub you. So I think Costa's gonna do a good job of maximizing his reach, especially his kicking, like the length of his kicks, and yeah, just keeping Ige busy and grinding him out to a decision. So in this one, I got Melquizael Costa via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the welterweight division, we got Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Jeff Neal to beat Uros Medic. Confidence would definitely be higher, but Jeff Neal is coming off a knockout loss, and he is going against a striker. And you can't really ever be too locked in confident when a guy is coming off a knockout loss and they're coming against a striker or something. It's not the best place to be, but I do think that Jeff Neal is a better overall fighter. I do think he's the better striker. He is the truer welterweight. He's definitely far more accomplished, and by the end of their career, definitely still will probably be the far more accomplished fighter of these two here. We're gonna lose this fight, but yeah, just really the concern of coming off this knockout loss and how that affects someone coming into a fight. But yeah, I think Jeff Neal is the bigger, more technical welterweight here. I'll say second round TKO for Jeff Neal. I don't think Uros Medic really is that durable at welterweight because he's really like a lankier welterweight, like a guy that probably still can make welterweight. I mean, a guy that still can make lightweight, and he doesn't really have that mass and size, and like I say, he kind of gets at this like as far as his weight, he's still kind of really build wise a lightweight, strength wise a lightweight, but it's like the speed and the technique side that as far as that. In the fights that he wins and can win stylistically. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm trying to yap for no reason. But what I'm saying is, like, I think Uros Medic's chin is more of a suspect here than Jeff Neal is. I think Jeff Neal should be able to get to his strikes, get to his points, and I don't think Uros Medic is going to be able to handle the power, the size, and physicality of Neal in this fight. I don't think Medic is going to be able to handle those things of Neal, especially since Neal has been a guy that's been fighting at elite level at welterweight for a long time here. And this should be a good bounce back fight for him. And yeah, I think he should put Medic on the back foot, dig to his body, put him on, push him further on the back foot. Chin opens up, lands some shots up top, and I think he puts Medic out. I'll say late first round. Late first round TKO for Jeff Neal. So in this one, I got Jeff Neal via first round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the middleweight division, we got former middleweight champion Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Anthony Hernandez to beat Sean Strickland. I'm not going to yap too much about this one. But yeah, picking Anthony Hernandez. I think Sean Strickland's a great fighter. Hernandez is a great fighter in his own right as well. But going Hernandez here, I feel the main thing for both guys, they kind of mirror each other. Different styles, but they mirror each other. I think both guys win on the front foot. Neither guy is a back foot fighter. Strickland might be a little bit better off the back foot, maybe a little bit better off the back foot, but Strickland in reality, he's a guy that needs to be going forward. Hernandez is a guy that needs to be going forward. Whoever's going forward is winning the fight over the long course of the day. Yeah, so whoever's going forward is winning, and I think Hernandez will be the guy better able to go forward. Mixing up the wrestling. And also, it's not like Strickland really has the greatest track record as far as in the cage at beating grapplers or guys that mix it up. Maybe in the gym, he does a great job there. Yeah, maybe in the gym. But as far as his pro experience, what sticks out most is the two Dricus DuPlessis fights and the Usman fights. And he's 0-3 in those fights. Usman didn't really have the most striking at the time in his career, but he kept going forward, drawing power shots, and the threat of the takedown. It wasn't even so much the success of the takedown, which he did have great success with wrestling Strickland back then at welterweight. But yeah, the threat of a takedown and going forward, he was able to get his strikes off as well and drop Strickland at one point in that fight as well. And Hernandez, if he keeps going forward, threatening takedowns and having Strickland have to defend those takedowns, and then mixing the striking as well, the fight goes away. And I think that's what will be the case. I think Strickland will try to do what he does, but I think Strickland is just very predictable. Like, he's going to try to do those teep kicks, those front kicks, jab you, walk you, shoulder roll. But I think Hernandez has the cardio and the mixture of martial arts to keep Strickland busy and put Strickland on the back foot. And I think once Hernandez starts to find any success, whether it be some more so going to be come off the grapple. I don't think it's going to be so much striking success, but I think if Hernandez can get, at the very least, get Strickland respect, once Strickland starts to respect you a little bit, he definitely starts to turn into a different fighter. And also in this fight, it's not like Strickland is this great consistent finisher either. So it's a 5-round fight. Hernandez has been fighting at an impressive pace, showing great cardio, been showing improvements in his BJJ, his grappling every single fight out. yeah, I think he'll be able to mix it up, keep Strickland honest, and be able to push that pace for 25 minutes if needed. And I actually say a 4th round submission for Hernandez. I think Hernandez will continue to show improvements. I think he has great momentum behind him. I do think that Strickland is live fight. It's not, again, I'm going low confidence. It's not like I'm saying, oh, Strickland's a bum or Hernandez going to do this. Like, it's low confidence. Strickland definitely has a very good shot in this fight. Again, if he's on the front foot and Hernandez on the back for too long, Strickland could definitely win this fight. He could definitely finish this fight. The same for Hernandez. Hernandez on the front foot for a prolonged time. He could potentially, whatever case, I'm yapping too much. But, yeah, I think Hernandez has the momentum. I think he has the ability to mix it up. He has the cardio, just like Strickland has the cardio. And I just think he's the better overall fighter. And the guy that's showing evolution at this point, where Strickland has been the same guy for 5-6 years and don't seem to, if not even longer, it does not seem to be wanting to make any major adjustments. So I think Hernandez can follow a lot of the blueprint of Dricus. It's not about necessarily having the cleanest technical striking. It's about, it's keeping Strickland busy. Because it's not like Strickland really even has any great counter offense. So if you just keep pushing stuff in Strickland's face and keep on the back foot, there's really not a whole lot he can do. He doesn't really have any great footwork. His feet are pretty flat. Doesn't really have any great counter strikes at all. So if he can follow a blueprint to what Dricus has already laid out there, Hernandez and Usman did many years prior, at a different weight class, just keep offense in Strickland's face enough that he can set up takedowns and keep Strickland busy on the defensive, on the back foot. I think Hernandez should be able to wear down Strickland over the course of the fight and look to put a stamp on it and have a statement performance and submit Strickland in the 4th round. So in this one, I have Anthony Hernandez via 4th round submission. So in this one, again, Anthony Hernandez via 4th round submission. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the 4 card fights for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.